Hey guys, I'm the NFL Addict, and today I will be giving you my record predictions for the 2021 Cincinnati Bengals. And before we get started, if you like these types of videos, I'm going to be doing one for every single team. I already have done the Steelers, Ravens, and Browns, and I will be doing every other team, so like and subscribe, it really does help a lot. Now to the Bengals. The Bengals are a team that had a kind of a meh offseason. It wasn't bad in any means. They did going into this offseason, they really needed to ramp up that offensive line because their offensive line was non-existent last year. It was a big reason why Joe Burrow. Sorry, I forgot his name for a second. The reason why Joe Burrow got injured and was out for the whole season was because their offensive line was so bad. He was just getting battered like on every single play, and it was just fate that eventually he would inevitably get hurt, and it did end up happening. They did pick up Riley Reef, so that's a pretty good right tackle for them. However, in the draft, they had a perfect opportunity to pick up Penei Sewell. That would have been a massive boost and definitely was a pick I think they should have made, and they went for Jamar Chase instead. They already had Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, and they didn't really have an offensive line. So while it's definitely not a bad pick, I definitely think it was either Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell was definitely the right pick there. Obviously, we can't tell until a couple more years, but as of right now, that's what I'm heavily leaning towards is Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase. The Lions got a steal. In week one, they will be at home against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are a team that is either going to be, pretty bad or pretty good, but because you look at last year and they were pretty bad at the beginning, and they started to pick things up at the end and look like how they looked like a couple of years back. Speaking of that, a couple of years back they were they were going to the playoffs like every single year consecutively. It seemed like every single year you're like, all right, the Vikings are kind of always in the competition for the NFC North. Last year kind of all fell apart, and it'd be interesting to see if maybe they can get back to that same form because it's practically the same team, and now they have a pretty good. I can't think of his name now. Oh, dang. They got a pretty good rookie wide receiver. I can't think of his name for some reason, but I'm sure it'll come to me when I'm at the Steelers game. I think this should be a pretty good one. I'm going to give it to Minnesota, though, just because I like that offense. I just like their offense a lot. I feel like, again, I can't think of his name, but he was really good last year and should have gotten Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm really thinking. I can't think of his name. I'm not going to look it up. That's cheating. And then in week two, they go into Chicago. Another thing, the Bengals have a pretty tough schedule because of their division. Look, obviously, I think all these teams are good because of where I have them in the records as of right now, without the Bengals games. So, it's going to be rough. They have to win a lot of out of division games. So they're going into Chicago. Chicago actually, I think I've been underrating their offense lately because I've been thinking about it, and they do still have Tariq Cohen. They do still have Justin Fields. So they do have some playmakers on that offense. And also on that defense, Khalil Mack. So they're not terrible. They are they've got an okay team. They did lose Justin Simmons in the secondary, which does. Oh, they've also got Allen Robinson as a wide receiver. Forgot to mention him. They're a pretty formidable team, and I actually think that the Bengals will end up starting off sadly 0-3. I think both of these games will be close, and at the end of this video, I will be going through worst case, best case scenarios, and these will both be wins in the best case scenario because these are both going to be very close. Both these are not going to be blowouts. I just think these are close, and I'm giving the edge to the other team. Don't think that I'm saying that the Bears are like way better than the Bengals. That's not what I'm saying. This one though, the Bengals are going into Pittsburgh. This is going to be a rough one for the Bengals. The Steelers, they did go running back instead of offensive line in that first round, but I don't think that's that big of a loss for the Steelers. They did still get a replacement running back for James Conner. And they also got the steel curtain at defense. I know it's not the steel curtain anymore, but they do have a pretty good defense. I am going to have to give this one to the Steelers. So they start off 0-3. But then they have a pretty good game in week 4 where they're going up against Jacksonville. Jacksonville, who also took Travis Etienne in the first round, and they've already got James Robinson. That was one of the worst picks in the whole. Might have been the worst pick in the first round was that. And I didn't like it at all. They do, however, have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. I'm assuming that he's going to be starting at least by week 4. That defense, though, it's nothing special, and that offense. They've got DJ Chark, I guess. They do have, they've got Tim Tebow now, so I guess they're unstoppable. But I am going to have to give the win here to Cincinnati. So they start off 0-3, but they get their first win in Week 4, and it's a big home win. Hopefully now, they've got they've got a lot of rough games here, but oh wow. So yeah, their schedule isn't looking very good. Wow, they've got Cleveland twice, they've got the Ravens twice, so it's looking rough. But maybe they can pull something off. In Week 5, these two are really. They need to win these two games. These are two very important games. Looking down the stretch, they need to win as many out-of-division games as possible, and these two are going to be very important. If they can start off the season 2-0, the playoffs are a much bigger possibility, and we'll see that when I do best-case scenario. All right, so then Green Bay going into Cincinnati, and this is assuming that Aaron Rodgers is starting. I don't really think I have to say too much about this one. I've talked about Green Bay in some of my other prediction videos. I'm going to have Green Bay beat Cincinnati. It's just, they're on a whole other level, and I don't see Cincinnati winning here. They go into Detroit. This is kind of going to be the Penei Sewell Bowl because Penei Sewell got picked up by the Lions at 7 instead of where he should have gone, which, as I said, is to the Bengals at 5. This should actually be a pretty good one. I feel like these are two teams that are pretty evenly matched. I guess Detroit does get the home advantage, but I'm not going to give a team a win because they're at home. That's not how I do things. So this one will be pretty close. I'm actually leaning towards the Bengals here just because I feel like they have more firepower in that offense, which Jamar Chase does help. So they did their second win in 3 weeks. And all of these games against Detroit, Jacksonville, these two, definitely the Jets game, any of these games that they definitely can win, they need to win if they want to have a shot at the playoffs because they have a rough schedule and a rough division, and they need wins. So in Week 7, they go into Baltimore. Baltimore is probably the division opponent they probably have the best chance of beating. I just feel like they're third in the division. A lot of people are going to get mad at me for that. A lot of people are saying that Pittsburgh is the third. Sorry about that. But personally, I feel like the Baltimore Ravens are the third. So this one could actually be a close one, especially when the Bengals are at home. I am going to have to give Baltimore that advantage, though. Moving on, in Week 8, they're 2-5. Things probably are looking good. I know for a fact that none of these teams were 2-5 at this point, so they are struggling to stay in the playoff hunt or to get back into the playoff hunt or to get into it, period. But they do have a pretty good game here against the Jets. Had a pretty good draft. They got ATV and they got a good quarterback, so now they have some offensive line help with ATV, and they've got a pretty good quarterback with Zach Wilson, who again I assume will be starting since they got rid of Sam Darnold and Joe Flacco. I'm gonna have Cincinnati beating them. I feel like Cincinnati really needs to pick off these teams that I feel like are worse than them, and they get this win there. At home against Cleveland, I feel like Cleveland is probably going to be a Super Bowl contender this year. Their defense is so overpowering. They have so much weapons, so many weapons on that offense. In my opinion, there's really no way Cincinnati gets a win here. They fall to 3-6. Now they have a game against the Raiders, another one that should be a pretty close one. I don't like Alex Leatherwood at 17th. They could have picked him up midway through the second round, I feel like. So that pick isn't great. He is going to be kind of a boost to their team if he does start. I feel like their offensive line was good enough before. It definitely wasn't their biggest need. So this might makes me go mad, but especially coming off a bye week, I am going to have to give Cincinnati their second win in a row against Las Vegas. But now they have a home game against Pittsburgh. Kind of the same deal as here. I can't see them splitting. I'm going to have Pittsburgh. Wow, I did not mean to click that. I'm going to have Pittsburgh get the sweep here as they fall to 4-7. And think about it. If they had won these two games, that changes to 6-5. These two games are very, very important. And now they go up against the Chargers. Another pretty interesting one. As the Chargers, they got a whole new coaching staff. We didn't really get a good look at what kind of talent they had last year. We know Justin Herbert's really good. Obviously, we know what kind of talent they do have, but we didn't get to see it whenever they had competent coaching, because Anthony Lynn was not a competent coach. He was terrible. He ruined Justin Herbert's first year. And with all those close games, if the Chargers had won all those close games where they had the lead and then lost them, they would have probably had a much better shot at the playoffs than they did. So I am going to have to give the Chargers a win here and they fall to 4-8. So they do still, since this year there's 17 games, they have a shot at a winning record still. But their last part of their year is really tough here. It's not going to be good. I can go ahead and let you know that. Then they go against San Francisco, another home game. They've only won one home game to this point. Their fans are probably pretty mad at them. I mean, they haven't seen very many home victories, only one to date. They need something to happen, and I don't think it happens. I feel like Jimmy G will still be starting in Week 14. Wouldn't change the outcome. I'm going to have San Francisco get a win here. Now they're on the 4-9. They got it now in Week 15. They have a chance against Denver, who has a pretty weak offense. It's probably one of the weaker offenses in the league. This one is going to be a game that they definitely, at this point, really need to win. And for the whole season, they definitely really need to win. And I'm going to give them that win here. Cincinnati gets the win against Denver. That defense, the secondary is very, very good. So this one actually could go in Denver's favor, and it definitely will when I do worst case scenario. But right now, I'm going to give Cincinnati the win. And this is going to be tough. I mean, this is not going to be good. I'm going to have Baltimore get the sweep. This one is very close. Out of any of their division games, this is the one that I feel like they have the biggest chance of winning by a long shot. At home against Baltimore, I couldn't see them sweeping, and anytime I have a team splitting, I always just pick the home teams for both games. So, like, if I thought they were going to split, I would have Baltimore win this one and Cincinnati win this one. I feel like this is definitely the biggest chance. It's against a home game against Baltimore. Then they go up against Kansas City. Oh, man, another rough game that I'm going to have them losing. This one, unless for some random crazy reason, maybe the Chiefs have a bye in Week 18 and they're resting their starters in Week 17, the Bengals aren't going to get a win here, and I am not going to have them splitting with Cleveland. If I did have them splitting with Cleveland, they would have won over here. So now they go to 5-12, but wait a second. We have to do worst case scenario and then best case scenario. So let's go through worst case scenario. These are losses. This is a game that I definitely think they will win 100%. This one, though, I could turn in Detroit's favor, and I'm going to have to give it to Detroit here. So these two I definitely think are wins for them. So that I think the worst case scenario at the bye week is, well, I guess we can't see it. And then I think they have a chance at possibly losing these two games. This one is a little iffy. I thought about leaving it, but I'm going to have to give it to Denver. So I feel like they're absolute worst. And keep in mind, this isn't like, they're really bad. This is, the team that they have right now. If all the close games go against them, and if everything, if all their opponents are playing at the best that they can with the teams they have, this is where it's going to happen. But this is what's going to happen. Now, if something catastrophic happens, Joe Burrow gets injured again, which is possible, it's going to be worse than this. And I had them beating Detroit, didn't I? Yeah. So now they're back to 5-12. Now, best case scenario. These are the time. This is basically, it's going to be kind of desperation mode. All right. So now, pretty good start to the season here. And then they go, and I can see them beating the Chargers. If I was a Bengals fan, I would maybe think they can beat the 49ers, but I'm gonna actually have to sit here and think about this one because, man, this is tough. And I know I also said I think they have a pretty good chance of maybe beating Baltimore here, but you know what? Screw it. Best case scenario, I'm gonna give them these two wins. So their best case scenario is 10-7. So they have a pretty big 8-game range. A lot of these teams have pretty big ranges. That doesn't even put them out of last in their division, which isn't good. 1-5 in your division is never a good thing. However, I definitely think it's a lot better. And I mean, 10-7 is a pretty good record. So if all things go great and all things go wrong for the other team, 10-7 is what a Bengals fan would be rooting for. All right, so now I'm gonna have to put all these back because I do have to do other predictions, and it'd be very wrong of me just to leave these. So back down to whatever the heck you were before. Back down to 5-12. Man, 1-8 at home. Dang, that must suck to be the home crowd. Anytime a team is really bad at home, you know their fans aren't happy, because most of the time their fans are going to like every single home game. They got their season tickets, and they get to watch a lot of bad games here. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. 5-12 is what I think realistically they're gonna get. Sorry, Bengals fans. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one, where I will be predicting what the Tennessee Titans will have as a record for the next season. So thank you so much for watching.